Welcome to Raising Our Voices on 3CR. Hi, Timothy. Today I am talking with James and Pauline from Amida.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, people.
Pauline, can you remind our listeners about Amida?
Yeah, sure, Tim. Amida is a housing and disability advocacy service, and one of the things we do is we try and change things, change policies and change laws and change the whole system if we can, so that people with a disability have a better life in the community. So our advocacy is to improve the lives of people with a disability and push for more community housing options and transport and all the things that people need to have a good life.
Pauline, what has Amida been up to?
Well, in the run-up to the state election that's happening in Victoria, we've been busy. We've been writing to politicians and urging lots of other people to also write to the ministers and the shadow ministers around housing and disability, because we think it's really important that people with a disability get promises made to them and budgets that commit money to improve things. We need lots of public housing. Affordable housing is a really huge issue, and people would know that there's a bit of a housing crisis in Melbourne because rents are so expensive, and a lot of people with disability don't get jobs because businesses don't, I guess, want to hire people unless they think they can get a lot of work out of them. And if you've got a disability and you need a bit more time to get things done, you often get overlooked and don't get jobs. So that means it's really hard if you haven't got enough money to pay rents when they're so expensive. So we've been busy putting pressure through contacting our politicians and getting other people to contact them to say, hey, what about people with a disability? You need to be thinking about putting some money aside and making some promises.
At our last show, we had a look in some of the show bags you can get at Amida. I thought we might have another look today.
What a good idea. So I've got my show bag here and we need someone to do a little lucky dip. So, James, would you like to put your hand in there and see what you get? Okay, that looks really good. You've pulled out of one of the show bags, it's a zine, a magazine that we made, and it's called Paradigm Shift. And the first thing you notice when you open it is that the insides are all upside down. So you've got to turn it over and go to the end and start again. It's a paradigm shift. And this is a fantastic zine that's got lots of stories in it about a really kind of different way of looking at disability. So the first story is falling in love with an acquired brain injury. And it's Ross Cotty's story, and Ross is a really fantastic musician who did get an acquired brain injury, but the way he tells his story, it's a little bit like Jack and Jill. You know, Jack and Jill went up the hill and Jack fell down and broke his crown and Jill became his carer. Yeah. So it's a fantastic story, and it's really Ross's story, but told in sort of graphic magazine style. Fantastic. So that was a good one to pull out, and that's actually been put together by members of Brain Injury Matters and the ACT Resources Group. So you can contact Amida about that, I think, Tim.
How can people get a copy of this?
Well, I should have given you some details for that, shouldn't I? So if you want to get a copy of it, you can ring Amida on 9650 2722. That's 9650 2722. But also there's a website where you can get it, which is called actresources.com.au. So it's all one word, actresources.com.au, and from there you can actually download a copy of the zine.
James, I know you were part of an art show this year. Tell us all about that.
Yes, it was a great art show. It started in June and July of 2014.
What was it called? That
It was called Branching Out.
And did you have any art in it?
Yes, I did.
Fantastic. How many pieces?
About 10, I read. I think,
Wow.
roughly.
You're busy. And did lots of people go along? Were you there when the audience turned up to have a look?
Yes,
How was it?
it was good. Lots of people turned up from AXO and lots of clients from AXO.
And where was it, the art show?
It was at Federation Square.
Fantastic location. AXO's the Australian Community Support Organisation,
Yes.
isn't it, who do a lot of work with people with disability and obviously have been supporting people to create some fantastic artwork.
Yes.
Well done, James. That would have been exciting.
And I believe you have a new job. Tell us about your new job.
I've got a new job selling the Big Issue on the street, and I sell it. I buy it for $3 profit, and I sell it for $6.
That's good. Is it good?
It is good, yes.
It is. You enjoying it?
I enjoyed it when I first started because I was on a trial for 3 months, and then I got my photo badge.
Ah, congratulations. That's exciting.
Yes.
So you're out there now selling?
Yes.
Wow. And where will people find you, James, if they want to buy a copy of Big Issue?
On any corner.
On any corner. You move around a bit, do you?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll have to look out for you. In the city, is it mainly where you are?
Sometimes I'm at stations, sometimes I'm at near two churches. I'm anywhere.
Anywhere, but mainly in the city?
Mainly in the city, yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, you are listening to Raising Our Voices on 3CR. I think it is time for a music break.
Okay, so, James, I think this one's for you.
Oh, thank you.
It's called Get a Job.
Dip, 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 dip. For me.
Able-bodied Australia does not realise that people with disabilities across the board are being discriminated against. Then the government to demand that we go out and get a job without removing the disincentives like the lack of access to transport and community infrastructure, without providing accessible buildings that can provide barrier-free employment. I'm not getting a fair go, and I don't like it, and I'm saying so.
You're listening to 3CR, 8:55 on the AM dial.
Welcome back to Raising Our Voices on 3CR. I'm Timothy, and with me today are James and Pauline from Armada. We've been looking at some of the great resources Armada have made, and we will have another lucky dip into the show bag.
Okay, so I've got the Amida show bag here. James, would you like to have another lucky dip in there? Right, now this is going to make a little bit of noise because I've got to get an elastic band off. There's the noise, the elastic band. Pop. Now, let's have a look. This is fantastic. This is a poster which has been put together to tell us about a new website that we created called the Act Resources website. And it's all about your rights if you get a service under the Disability Act. Okay, so that's why it's called Act Resources. So if you go to this website, you'll find information about your rights if you get a service under the Disability Act. You'll also find out how to make complaints, because that's a right you have. You'll find out about what services there are and also about how you can have a role in planning your service. Then there's some assorted information as well. But the really great thing is that most of the information is video. So there's lots of little films. There is some written information, but a lot of it is film information. So it's really easy to watch and learn about. And some of the films are also in Auslan. So there's interpretation in Auslan so that people who can't hear can still get the information. And there's lots of subtitling, so people can read the information as well if they want to. So this is just a poster that tells us all about the project, and it tells you, of course, the website, which I did read out before, but I'll tell you again. It's called actresources.com.au, and lots and lots of resources have been made from this project. Mm-hmm. There were the films, but also the zine I mentioned before, and a lot of the information's been put up on the website that we made. And there's even a phone app that you can get called Be the Boss. So if you get apps for your phone, you can go to the Apple App Store and buy for free, because it doesn't cost anything, Be the Boss, which is a little phone app all about your rights under the Disability Act. So there you go. I'm now going to roll up the poster. It's going to make a noise. Listen. The cardinal sin on radio. There we go.
How can people get a copy of this?
Well, probably going to the website would be the best way, but if you're having trouble with that, you can always ring at a MIDA on 9650 2722. 9650 2722.
Shall we have another lucky dip?
Okay, we can have another one. Here we go. Okay, thanks very much, James. You've pulled out a little DVD called Introducing the SARU. And what this is it's a DVD all about the Self-Advocacy Resource Unit. And in it, the star of the show is a little cartoon character called Jim Spin. And Jim Spin talks to Colin Hisco all about self-advocacy and what it is, and all about the Self-Advocacy Resource Unit. So if people want to know more about the SARU, this is a really good place to start, is to have a look at the DVD. And again, you can get that from Amida on 9650 2722.
Remind our listeners how they can get a copy of these resources.
Well, as I said, you can contact Amida. You can also probably contact the Self-Advocacy Resource Unit itself, and they have a website as well. The Self-Advocacy Resource Unit can be contacted on 9639 6856, or you can go to their website, which is SARU, SARU, .net.au. And the SARU is at Ross House, 247 Flinders Lane, Melbourne. And it's a resource unit for self-advocacy groups across Victoria.
Now, Tim, you have an interest in public transport, I believe. What would you like to improve on the public transport?
I would like to see improve the regional rail link, because I reckon commuters would benefit in the long run, because there'd be more services and more efficient.
Is this for, when you say regional rail, you mean from the country into the city?
And other regions as well.
Yeah, because you're a country train user, aren't you, B-Line? And so there's not enough service?
No.
It's often the case that there's only, a few every day. Maybe, if you miss one, you've got to wait an hour, maybe more sometimes. Is that right? Yeah. What about you, James? What do you think the big thing that needs to improve is?
Probably more top-up machines.
More top-up machines for your Mikey card?
Yes.
Are you finding it hard to find them where you are?
Well, there's none in Docklands Drive.
Oh, right.
Actually,
None down there. Well, that's a bit of a mistake, isn't it?
because it's the last tram stop.
Aha. So the tram goes down there, but there's no top-up machine at the tram stop.
No.
Well, that's a very good suggestion then, James. Yeah, they should definitely put one at the end of the tram line, because otherwise the first stop you get on, if your mic is not topped up, you could get into a situation where a ticket inspector tries to fine you, and it wouldn't be your fault if there wasn't a top-up machine there, would it?
No.
So they probably should get onto that. Good suggestion. Any other great ideas there? Public transport needs to improve?
I would reckon the Moorbark train station.
Yes, why?
The double access where the wheelchairs go over to get onto the train. There's a large gap
Is there?
between the platform and the train
At Murrelbark?
at Moorbark.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, that's dangerous, isn't it? Okay, so that's something important. Well, we might have to pass some of those on to public transport. It's good to hear those sort of suggestions, and listeners should always contact them, shouldn't they, and let them know if there's things they see and pass on those kind of suggestions. If you do have some suggestions for the Public Transport Victoria, you can go to their website, which is ptv.vic.gov.au. And once you're there, you'll see a tab saying Customer Service. If you click on that, there are a number of ways you can feed back. And they also divide it up so that if you've got Mikey suggestions like yours, James, you can fill in a form on the site. But there's also general suggestions and comments that you can make. But you can also phone this number, which is 1800 800 007. So it's 1800 800 007. 007. There you go. So that's where you contact them and make your general complaints and comments. So things like the platform at Murrelbark, we could let them know via that number. And listeners, please let them know if you've got any other things that you've seen that you think they need to know about, because there are always lots of problems with public transport, and we need to keep on their backs to get them fixed. Yeah. Like what other problems are there, Tim?
Overcrowding on public transport.
It's huge, isn't it? I know.
Yes.
And this week alone there was something in the newspaper saying that regularly, every day, there are trains exceeding their carrying capacity. You know, train after train after train, just absolutely chockers.
Ooh.
Yep, people standing up and often people falling over because, I mean, I've been on them when they stop suddenly, and especially on trams, you sort of just about fall in someone's lap. And on the trains it can be awful having to stand up while they wait in the loop, and oh my goodness, it's an awful
And then when
experience.
they start up again, God knows what, they could fall over.
People do. And often that causes more delays because customers are, you know, sick and they have to help get them off the platforms in the loop, and that holds up more trains, and it's a flow-on effect then. So, yeah, they really do need to do something about improving the number of trains that run so we're not all crammed in like sardines in a tin.
I know how that feels.
Not very nice, is it?
No.
Okay, well,
Thanks for a great show. You have been listening to Raising Our Voices on 3CR. Tune in next time on the second Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m.
before we go, though, I think we need to have the final countdown. What do you think, Tim?
Here's some music from the final countdown. Goodbye for now.
Bye for now.
Up next
for now.
is Tamil Voices.
Bye.
You've been listening to a 3CR podcast produced in the studios of independent community radio station 3CR in Melbourne, Australia. For more information, go to allthews.3cr.org.au.